There are stories that never fade with time, stories that speak directly to the heart, no matter who we are or where we come from. In the pages of the Bible, we find not just history, but timeless wisdom, simple stories that carry eternal truths about forgiveness, love, faith, and the power of grace. In today's video, we'll revisit 5 of the most powerful parables ever told by Jesus, stories that have guided generations and continue to transform lives today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. Which story spoke to you the most, and what lesson will you carry with you today? Let's open our hearts and rediscover their meaning, beginning with one of the most touching tales of redemption, the Prodigal Son, a story of forgiveness and return. There was once a man who had 2 sons. One day the younger son said to his father, "Father, give me my share of the property, the part that belongs to me." The father agreed and divided his wealth between them. A few days later, the younger son packed all his belongings and left for a faraway country. There, he spent everything he had on wild living and careless pleasures. After he had wasted it all, a severe famine struck that land. With no money and no one to help him, he began to starve. Desperate, he found work for a local farmer who sent him to the fields to feed the pigs. He was so hungry that he wished he could eat the food the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. Then, one day, he came to his senses. "How many of my father's workers have more than enough to eat," he thought, "and here I am dying of hunger. I'll go back to my father and say, 'Father, I have done wrong. I don't deserve to be called your son. Please, take me back as one of your servants.'" So he got up and started the long journey home. While he was still far away, his father saw him coming. Filled with compassion, the father ran to meet him, hugged him tightly, and kissed him. The son began to speak, "Father, I have done wrong and I'm not worthy to be called your son." But before he could finish, the father called out to his servants, "Quick, bring the best clothes and put them on him. Put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and prepare a feast. My son was lost and is found again. He was as good as dead and now he's alive." And they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son was working in the fields. When he returned home, he heard music and dancing. He asked one of the servants what was going on. The servant replied, "Your brother is back and your father is celebrating because he came home safe." The older son became angry and refused to go inside. His father came out and begged him to join them. The son said, "All these years I've worked for you, never disobeyed, and yet you never even gave me a small feast with my friends. But when this son of yours comes home, the one who wasted everything, you celebrate with the best meal." The father said gently, "My son, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate, because your brother was lost, and now he is found, he was dead, and now he's alive again." Reflection. This story reminds us that compassion has no boundaries. No matter how far someone strays, there is always a path back, and someone willing to welcome them when they return. The tale of the prodigal son is more than a story of a family. It's a mirror of our human journey. At some point, each of us drifts away from what truly matters, only to learn that understanding and forgiveness are stronger than pride or regret. Redemption isn't something we earn, it's something we allow to happen when we open our hearts to reconciliation. Next, the Good Samaritan, love beyond boundaries. One day, an expert in religious law stood up to test Jesus. He asked, "Teacher, what must I do to gain eternal life?" Jesus replied, "What is written in the law? How do you understand it?" The man answered, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." "You have answered correctly," said Jesus. "Do this and you will live." But the man wanted to go deeper, so he asked, "And who exactly is my neighbor?" In response, Jesus told a story. A man was traveling down the road from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and left him lying on the road half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road. When he saw the wounded man, he crossed to the other side and kept walking. Soon after, a Levite, another respected man, came to the same place. He looked at the injured traveler but also walked away, avoiding him. Then a Samaritan came along. someone from a group often looked down upon and rejected by others. When he saw the man, he was moved by compassion. He went to him, cleaned his wounds with wine and oil, and carefully wrapped them in cloth. Then he lifted the man onto his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him through the night. The next morning he gave 2 silver coins to the innkeeper and said, "Please take care of him. If this isn't enough, I'll pay you back when I return." Then Jesus asked, "Which of these 3 do you think was a true neighbor to the man who was attacked?" The expert in the law replied, "The one who showed mercy." Jesus said, "Then go and do the same." Reflection. This story goes beyond religion. It's a reflection on what it means to be truly human. It reminds us that kindness isn't about who we are, what we believe, or where we come from. Compassion is a choice, one that often crosses the lines that divide us. Sometimes the people we least expect to help us become the ones who show the greatest care. And sometimes we are the ones called to stop, to notice, and to help, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. The message is timeless. Being a neighbor means seeing another person's pain and refusing to turn away. True humanity begins when empathy moves us to action. Next, the parable of the talents, the power of what we choose to do with what we're given. Jesus told another story. A man was preparing to leave on a long journey. Before he left, he called 3 of his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one, he gave 5 bags of gold, to another, 2 bags, and to the last 1 bag, each according to their ability. Then the man left. The servant who received 5 bags went out immediately and invested them. In time, he earned 5 more. The one with 2 bags did the same and doubled what he had. But the servant who received just 1 bag of gold was afraid. He dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money, doing nothing with it. After a long time, the master returned and asked each servant to give an account of what they had done. The first servant came forward and said, "Sir, you gave me 5 bags of gold. Look, I have earned 5 more." The master smiled and said, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You were responsible with little, and now I will trust you with much more. Come and share in my happiness." The second servant came and said, "Sir, you gave me 2 bags. I have earned 2 more." The master replied, "Excellent work. You were faithful with what you were given, and now you will be given greater things." Then came the last servant. He said, "Sir, I knew you were a hard man, harvesting where you didn't plant and gathering where you didn't sow. I was afraid, so I hid your money in the ground. Here, take back what is yours." The master frowned and said, "You lazy and fearful servant. If you knew I was strict, you should have at least put my money in the bank so I could earn interest. Take the money from him and give it to the one who now has 10 bags. For those who use what they have will receive even more, and they will have abundance. But those who waste their gifts, even what little they have will be taken away." Reflection. This story isn't just about money, it's about potential. Each of us is given something: time, talent, opportunity, and the freedom to choose what we'll do with it. Some invest their gifts with courage, taking risks, learning, growing, and creating value. Others bury their potential out of fear, afraid of failure, of judgment, or of losing what they have. The message is timeless. What you don't use, you lose. Life rewards those who act with faith, not necessarily in religion, but in purpose, in effort, and in possibility. The greater risk is not in trying and failing, but in never trying at all. The Lost Sheep, a story of compassion, care, and never giving up on someone who strays. One day, many tax collectors and people considered sinners gathered to listen to Jesus. The religious leaders, however, began to complain. They said, "This man welcomes sinners and even eats with them." So Jesus told them this story. "Imagine that one of you has 100 sheep and loses one. Wouldn't you leave the 99 in the open field and go after the one that wandered away until you find it? And when you finally find it, wouldn't you lift it joyfully onto your shoulders, carry it home, and call your friends and neighbors, saying, 'Celebrate with me. I've found my lost sheep'?" Then Jesus said, "In the same way, there is more joy in heaven over one lost soul that finds its way back than over 99 who never went astray." Reflection. This story is about being lost and found. Sometimes in life we drift away from our purpose, our values, or even from ourselves. We get caught in noise, distraction, or regret and forget who we are meant to be. But the essence of this story reminds us, no one is ever too far gone. Every life matters and every soul has value, even when the world overlooks it. The shepherd's search symbolizes compassion that never gives up, the kind of love or empathy that keeps reaching out, even when others would walk away. It's a call to remember that we all get lost sometimes, but we can always find our way home. And when we do, the world becomes a little brighter, because every return, every awakening is a cause for joy. The Parable of the Sower, a story about growth, choices, and nurturing what truly matters. One day, Jesus sat by a lake, and a great crowd gathered around him. So he got into a boat and told them this story. A farmer went out to plant seeds. As he scattered them, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate them. Some fell on rocky ground, where there wasn't much soil. The seeds sprouted quickly, but because the soil was shallow, they withered under the sun and died. Other seeds fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the young plants. But some seeds fell on good soil, rich, deep, and ready. Those seeds grew strong and produced a great harvest, 30, 60, even 100 times what was planted. Then Jesus said, "Whoever has ears to hear, let them listen and understand." This story speaks not only of farming, but of life itself. The seeds are ideas, wisdom, and truth. The soil is our mind, our heart, and our willingness to grow. Some ideas never take root because we don't stop to listen. Some begin to grow but fade when life gets hard, when there's no depth to sustain them. Others start well, but are suffocated by worries, distractions, and the endless noise of the world. But when our inner ground is ready, when we are open, patient, and mindful, the same seed that once went unnoticed can flourish into something extraordinary. Growth doesn't depend only on the seed, but on the soil within us. The story reminds us to nurture our inner life, to create space for what truly matters, and to guard that space from the things that drain our spirit. Because in the end, what we choose to cultivate will define the harvest of our lives.